All right. Wanted to go over today a little something I thought was interesting. It was really, if I simplify it, it's about like what the elites know about real estate and investing that we don't. Like why are they doing so much better? So, and I wanted to break this down, and I wrote a couple of bullet points so I don't go long because this I thought this was going to be like important, right? So the number one thing I wanted to point out, because I talk about investing money in real estate all the time, and again, you guys hear me say all real estate's not created equal. My shirt's weird, but all real estate's not created equal, right? I'm talking about multifamily real estate. I'm talking about commercial grade, institutional quality, multifamily real estate. Typically not everyday real estate investors don't get access to that. I mean, we're sold go buy a house, get a duplex, get a fourplex, get some beat up fixer upper where you live at because we don't want those assets. You go get them and we'll even give you the money to do it. So we still control you and, kind of throw you a bone. But wealthy elite investors, they don't play with those things. So I'm going to go over a couple of things and kind of really explain why the rich continue to get richer and why you're trapped. Why, like while you're stuck in stocks. Like right now, they're talking about tariffs. They're doing a lot of conversation on CNBC about what's going on in the marketplace, how it's affecting people, all the other stuff. And that not everybody's hurting for money. Let's be real. There's still a massive amount of people that are not affected by the tariffs. They're just going to go spend more money. They're just going to make the game work. And you want to be those people too, but you can't if you continue to play the game that you don't know the rules to. All right. So, and I'm just gonna kind of like clear something out as it relates to institutional investors or institutional banks and retail investors, me and you, the mom and pops, the Victors, the Sharons, the Kevins, the Charleses, my kids, your kids, our families. There's a big distinction between that. So if you think about, let's say, hedge funds, private equity companies, institutional banks, BlackRock, $11 trillion dollars in assets under management. $11 trillion dollars in assets under management. They own everything globally. Vanguard, they're at $10 trillion dollars. As of, I think it was January, they're at $10.4 trillion dollars in assets under management. Harvard endowment funds at $50 billion dollars in assets under, and their endowment funds $50 billion dollars. They're arguing about it right now because Trump cut them off, and everyone was like, no, you can't do that. So, anyways, then when you look at CalPERS, which is California Employment Pension Fund or however that's called, like they have $300 billion dollars in assets under management. Why? Because they are betting that when you retire, they have to put that money to work. There is so much money out there. JP Morgan, they're at $3 trillion dollars in assets under management. There's so much money out there. And then there's us, the retail investors. We don't get access to the same assets they do. Why? Because no one wants to step up and go after those assets. I am. That's what Bell Capital is for. I don't want to go after the leftovers and the scraps. I don't want to be a little guy anymore. I've played that game. It sucks. I can tell you, my eye-opening experience was when we had a small portfolio of properties in Hawaii and we refinanced them. We took money out, I paid back my investors, and we stayed in the deal. Later, when we sold it for $700,000 each of those assets over and above. And during that time, we waited. We got cash flow. We took out that first money that was non-taxable, and then later we sold and we basically tripled. We had a quadruple, but it was a triple. Blew my mind. And I was like, I'm never playing that other game again. I knew the game, but it was different when you see it, you hear about it, you hear about trillions of dollars and how institutional banks and investors and endowments how they play the game. That's the game that they play. They're not playing the same game. They're not running the same playbook that we got taught. Save your money, put your money in the bank, go to college, work hard, get a job, buy a house, be stuck for 30 years. That is not the wealthy playbook. And I'm going to go over what the game that they play, just to scratch the surface. And I'll go over it a lot more, but I wanted to kind of go through this and really separate this because it's important when you start understanding when I talk about institutional investors or investors, we're not talking about the same people sometimes. It's not your grandma and your grandpa, or your mom and your dad and what they did. We're talking about banks. Jamie Dimon is not going to take your phone call. You got to have $1 billion liquid. You need $100 million to just get a meeting at JP Morgan, or you need at least $10 million just to get a checking account. And you got to wait. You got to be on the list. It's different. It's a different game. Now, even if you have that, that don't mean you're able to play the game because a lot of times the big people at the top of Wall Street exclude the little guy out of the game. That's not, I'm not saying it's not fair, but it ain't fair. You can't bitch about, like, don't complain about, don't hate the player, hate the game. Once you can understand the rules of the game, you can play the game better and you can become a player. And it's a long game. All right. So the reason why there is such a huge gap between the elites, the wealthy is and the retail investor. We'll just call us the little guy, right? Because I'm a little guy, you're a little guy, little gal, whatever. Is number one, they take advantage of the tax advantages of their investments. Real estate itself has huge tax advantages, unlike any other asset class out there. Stocks don't have it. Treasuries don't have it. Your savings account and cash doesn't have it. Um, Even people talk about all the benefits of business acquisition. There's a lot of them out there as it relates to the taxes are concerned, but it feels like the tax code alone was written for people who invest capital in real estate. When I say capital, capital and money are not the same thing. You have working money, you work your job, your income and stuff like that, but the capital investment, which is why there's less tax, your capital gains tax is less than your working income. Like, for example, I heard Don Peebles say this. He was like, look, we can buy a building for, let's say, $100 million, or we develop a building and we exit that building, we make $100 million. We will pay less taxes on the 100, like as us, than the people who worked in the building. The maintenance people will pay more taxes percentage wise. The attorneys will pay more taxes on the money that they made percentage wise. That's crazy. Why? Because the tax code rewards capital. It doesn't reward work. It just works the other way. That's the game that they're playing. They make sure they play that game. All right. So number one, the tax advantages. That's the game that they play. Number two, they use debt. I know everyone says get out of debt, pay everything off, don't get debt, stay out of debt. Debt's bad. But we're talking about good debt, debt that they use to buy assets. So, for example, this blew my mind. So, when I'm taking a look at an asset, first thing I do is I look at the deal. Call on the deal, talk to the broker. I love the deal, love the location, already saw it, I underwrote it. How are you doing this? And I'll ask, hey, what's your guidance on the debt? Did you guys already kind of do like like kind of size the debt? And they'll be like, yep, we can go 60%, we can go 50%, we can go 65% on this. This is what you need. This is what the cost of that debt is. This is the spread. They already are introduced that if the deal is not good, there is no debt. But that debt is good debt. They use good debt. That is the cheapest money on the planet. And on top of that, with that debt, your Fannie Mae, they have a huge appetite for multifamily right now. Freddie Mac, huge appetite for multifamily and housing. Life insurance companies, huge appetite for multifamily. Debt funds, huge appetite, which is Wall Street. They just take their money, pull it together. The CMBS loans, all of that stuff is going towards this thing. So wealthy and the elite institutions use debt to buy assets. They're not playing the same play program that your mommy and your daddy and mine's too taught me. Don't get into debt. Debt's all debt's bad. You need to pay off everything. That is not what we're talking about. Wealthy people use debt to their advantage to now buy assets that pay for the debt, pay for the expenses, pay for the taxes, and pays them and their investors. They're just playing a whole different game. It's almost free money. It's almost a free asset with the money that's making them money. So they're playing by a different game, different rules, right? And if you don't understand that, then you're playing the game wrong. All right. They only invest in assets that actually pay them. There's no wealthy or elite person that goes into a deal that isn't going to pay them. I poo-poo on developers, but I'll be honest with you, when a developer does a development, they pay themselves out of that debt first. They just blow through their consulting fees, their asset management fees. They raise all the money, they pay themselves. Long as that money doesn't run out over 3, 4 years or whatever the timeline is that they got to go back and get permanent debt or they're going to exit that asset, they're fine. They're going to raise the money. They're only buying something that pays them up front. Like that's how the wealthy play this game. And if you're an investor, like you're a retail investor, let's say you're going to invest with somebody like me who's creating an institutional quality company, then you're going to get the benefits of being in that world as well by buying properties at cash flow already. Like that's number one, right? We're looking to raise money to buy real assets, and then we purchase existing income producing properties. And then I don't know if you guys can see that at the bottom. Can you see it? Says we send our investors monthly distributions. We're looking, you cannot do that if you buy it vacant property, vacant land, anything like that. Like your investors don't get paid, but you want to invest the way the wealthy and elite do. This is the game that they play. This is why they're the 1% and everybody else is getting the scraps. All right. Because they buy stuff that makes money up front. All right. Next. They never sell. Is what I was saying about when I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Like I should have never sold. That is my biggest mistake in my life. Selling any multifamily property that cash flowed. I should have never sold it. I would have still had it. I would still be rich. I would still have billions and billions and billions. That would be my thing, right? With Mr. President Trump. Like everyone that's in the wealth game never sells their assets. They go back to the bank. They get what good debt. They refinance or and pull money out, recapitalize, and they keep the asset all over again because the asset pays for the debt. They never sell. So if you're looking to play the wealthy game, you don't sell. You use more leverage and you pull out your equity, non-taxable. Like we said, they're playing a tax advantage game. Pull that out, non-taxable, keep that money and roll that into another deal and let this asset pay for itself, use the debt, pay for another asset, use this one, pay for another one, and they all pay for it and it keeps paying you and your investors forever. That's the game. And then next, they only buy stuff when they do that they can write off. So think about that. So let's say we get cash flow, you're not paying taxes on that money, and then you turn around and you go buy a vehicle. You're not going to buy a vehicle that isn't 6,000 pounds or whatever that is, so you can write that asset off because of the poundage matters. That's why you see these guys in like Rolls Royces and Bentleys and these big ass trucks and G wagons. They're not buying that or Hummer. They're not buying it because they want that. They're buying it because it's a write off. The poundage matters. You don't buy a jet because you want a jet. You buy a jet one because it's a travel, it's a utility thing, it's a corporate jet. It's not your jet. It's your company's jet, and it's an asset of the company. And oh, by the way, you get to write it all off. That's what this big beautiful bill is about. Everybody's bringing. If he brings back 100% bonus depreciation, it's apartment buildings. It's going to be on jets and planes. All of that stuff matters. And oh, by the way, I didn't talk about that too. Like in your debt, you get to write off the interest payment on debt because that's how that game works, right? So even if you bought an asset, you have debt on that asset, all the interest that goes towards that debt, you also get the tax benefits and writing that off as well. It's a whole different game, man. But this is why the wealthy just play a whole different game. They're not trapped the way most of the little guys are. The difference between institutional investors and what's called retail investors, which they consider us, the little guy, the person who doesn't have 50, 60 million dollar net worth, things like that. I mean, really that's a little guy too, according to that world. You'd be a middle class millionaire. The average person that makes 200, $300,000 a year in the United States and America is living paycheck to paycheck or business to business, or even if they make $5 million in business, they're getting hit the hardest. The game is actually fixed. You can't be good enough and win this game. You have to play the game by those rules. You can't be good enough. I was watching, as a matter of fact, it stood out to me, and I was watching Ozark. And when Marty Bird was young, he was playing the game, and that was his core thing, and mine's too. He was behind somebody playing a video game at the hospital. That kid, he was waiting for his turn. The kid was winning, and then he lost, and he dug in his pocket, put another quarter in, and he was telling his mom, he was like, "Mom, that kid, I get it. The game is fixed. You cannot win that game. That kid is perfect. The way that guy played the game was perfect, and he still lost. He had to feed it more money. That means the only way to win this game is not about being good. It's not about being the best. You have to have enough money to keep playing. That's the only way to win. That's how you win the game. So the wealthy aren't playing the same game as us. They're not working their way to the top, no matter what they tell you. They have better work ethic, but you can't have better work ethic when you're working towards the right end game, right? Kind of like he said, if you have money, you can keep playing the game. It doesn't go away. But if you don't have money, you're trying to play some game that's unwinnable without money. Where do you go? One, you need to invest with other people. That's number one. You need to get around a network of people who knows this stuff. Someone like me who eats it, sleeps it, breathes it. I go to properties. I talk to brokers. I build the debt relationships. I already have the fund. Paperwork's already filed, already ready to go. You don't have to do this. You can passively invest. That's the difference. That's the game. Most wealthy people don't make money off of their businesses. They make wealth and create wealth long term through passively investing with somebody else. So now they have their business and they have their investments. Their investments work harder than they do. And then eventually their business works harder than they do. They exit their business, they have a bunch of money, dump it over here in another real estate opportunity, and then they play. That's the game, right? But you can't do that if you're trying to do it all yourself. You have to have blinders on. Someone has to manage your money, and then you have to manage your money and your time as it relates to the activities you do. If you have a business, you're a high paid professional, you're a doctor, you're an attorney, you're a lawyer, you're a contract, which is an attorney. You have a contract company, you're a chiropractor, you're a dentist, whatever it is that it is. But it all matters. But you have to know 100%. that the wealthy are doing something you're not doing. And if you want to become wealthy, you have to do what they do. And I just gave them to you. Number one, you got to play the tax game, the tax advantages. All of those things have to matter to you, which means you have to own assets. You have to invest in assets. You can't play the tax game with no assets. It just doesn't work like that. You can only claim your kids so much before they grow up and go away. Next, you have to use debt. You have to use good debt that buys the assets. Use the assets now, or you can invest with somebody like me who's going to use debt to buy the assets, and we're going to raise capital with our investors, and we're going to partner, and you get the benefits of that debt buying the asset, right? Because that's leverage. Next, only invest in something that cash flows. I will not buy something that doesn't make money day one. It has to pay for the expenses, it has to cover the debt, and it has to have some money left over on the return to return money on the money that we're putting down. That's the goal. That's how it's always worked. That's how we'll continue to work, my friend. Let's go. Next, never sell. Like we need to exit a deal. I have in my fund that it's a 7 to 10 year fund, but my decision, I will continue on, right? Because what's happened right now, it's a bad market. This is a terrible time to sell your asset. The only people who have to sell are timed out of their fund and their institutions. They don't care. They're just going to go raise more money from who? CalPERS, from more pension funds, more sovereign funds, more endowment funds. That they're just going to go get more money. They're going to exit those deals, but they don't want to, but they have to because that's the mandate or the bylaws of their fund or their investors. Like that's how this game works. So they never sell. They use leverage. They're going to refinance or they're going to recapitalize with a new investor or a new bank. And last but not least, they will only buy what they can write off: cars, planes, jets, which is planes, everything that they do, trips, friends, dinners. They won't even go to dinner with their own wives without bringing somebody else with them so they can write the dinner off with very clear intention that they were doing business because they were. It's not tax evasion. This is the tax advantages that you want to take advantage of. Like I was telling my boy Mark. Anyways, I wanted to share this with you because the wealthy are just playing a whole different game. You can play it too. There's a difference between being an institutional investor and a retail investor, but how do you play the game and win it? Like I'm competing I want to compete against Wall Street. I don't want the everyday person like dependent on Wall Street for their retirement in the future. I don't want that. I don't want it for myself. I don't want it for my kids. I don't want it for my wife. So I'm doing something different. Even at the age of 51 years old, I didn't know this when I was 21, 22 years old. Now that I'm in my 50s and I've had some experience in real estate, I can see the future and I can see what I didn't know. Now that I'm studying the right people, I'm not studying people, I'm studying companies. And I'm building a company to rival Wall Street because I want to take the little guy and we all come together and we score. That's how this game works because I want to have us having this conversation with our own kids. So, anyways, like this video, share the video, comment on this video, give it a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down. Don't be a hater and a hider at the same time. But I wanted to share this with you guys. Like the wealthy people don't invest in the same things we do. There's a reason. And I just shared them with you what the benefits and advantages of so you can take advantage of them with me or you can do it yourself. You go to bell-capital.com. That's bell-capital.com. You can either hit the button that says get started, see our open fund. You got to be accredited, great attitude, love real estate, long-term thinker, or you can schedule a call with somebody, myself or somebody on my team. We'll answer any questions you have about your current situation or situation. What if you want to get started, great. If you don't, follow me, stick around, keep watching, but I'm gonna and I'm gonna play this game, and I will not play a game I cannot win. All right. So let me know how I can help. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day today. Boom.